A Chinese billionaire just solved a problem that took Toyota 80 years to figure out, and he did it in 3 years using your smartphone. Lei Jun turned 641 million phone users into car buyers overnight, created a $68 billion fortune, and made BMW executives question everything they know about business. But the automotive industry was just practice. Wait until you see what industry he's targeting next. While BMW takes 7 years to design a new car, Xiaomi did it in 3. While Mercedes sells through dealers, Xiaomi sells direct. While Audi makes cars, Xiaomi makes an entire digital ecosystem that happens to include cars. And this difference is about to destroy the automotive industry as we know it. Here's the number that should terrify every traditional automaker: 76%. That's how much of the global electric vehicle market Chinese companies now control. But this story isn't really about electric cars. It's about how a smartphone company figured out something that took Toyota and Ford a century to miss. Volkswagen just announced they're closing factories for the first time in their history. Ford lost $4.7 billion on electric vehicles last year, and analysts are now saying the probability of companies like NIO and XPeng surviving independently is 0. But one company is winning this war in a way nobody saw coming. Lei Jun walked onto a stage in March 2024 and changed everything. In 24 hours, his company received 88,000 orders for a car that didn't even exist yet. But the secret isn't the car itself. It's what happens when you combine a $68 billion fortune with a strategy that traditional automakers literally cannot copy. Here's what makes this story insane. Xiaomi makes money when you're not driving their car. Every time you use your Xiaomi phone, smart home devices, or headphones, they're building a profile of exactly what you want in a vehicle. Traditional car companies meet you twice: when you buy and when you service. Xiaomi talks to 641 million users every single day. So how do you compete with a company that knows more about your customers than you do? Lei Jun's path to automotive domination started with a $7 monthly salary. His parents were teachers, and he was writing code for word processors when most people had never seen a computer. But by age 29, he was CEO of a public company. And here's the part that explains everything. He didn't just build companies. He systematically studied how to destroy industries. Before Xiaomi ever made a phone, Lei Jun had already invested in the companies that would become their biggest competitors. He put money into NIO and XPeng Motors years before Xiaomi announced their car. He wasn't just planning to enter the automotive market, he was studying it. But his preparation went even deeper than anyone realized. While traditional automakers were building relationships with steel suppliers, Lei Jun was building relationships with battery manufacturers. While they were optimizing combustion engines, he was investing in AI startups. The strategy wasn't to compete in the car business. It was to redefine what the car business actually is. So what happens when a smartphone company applies Silicon Valley thinking to 150 years of automotive tradition? Lei Jun calls it the Triathlon business model. Hardware, plus software, plus internet services. Here's the breakdown that's destroying traditional automakers. They make 5% profit margins on hardware. Xiaomi makes 65% profit margins on the services that come after. The car isn't the product. The relationship is the product. Traditional automakers lose money the moment you drive off the lot. Xiaomi makes more money the longer you own their car. Over-the-air updates, app ecosystem, smart home integration, every interaction generates revenue. And this creates a flywheel effect that traditional companies literally cannot replicate. When Xiaomi built their car factory, they applied smartphone manufacturing principles to automotive production. 91% automation with cars rolling off the assembly line every 76 seconds. But here's the part that's revolutionary. Their Hyperdiccasting technology combines 72 separate components into single castings. This eliminates 840 welding joints and reduces production time by 60%. While a BMW requires 2,000 individual parts to assemble, Xiaomi's design needs 1,200. The supply chain advantages from consumer electronics give them 25 to 30% cost reductions before they even start competing on price. And they're not just making cars cheaper, they're making them fundamentally different. But Xiaomi isn't alone in this strategy. Chinese companies now control 76% of global EV sales, and they're using a coordinated playbook that's about to export worldwide. The question isn't whether they'll succeed internationally. It's whether any traditional automaker will survive what's coming next. So what happens when this strategy hits Europe and America at full force? Here's what makes the Chinese strategy unstoppable. It's not just about cars. Build Your Dreams controls battery production and electric buses. CATL supplies batteries to everyone, including Tesla and BMW. Xiaomi connects cars to smartphones and smart homes. They've created an ecosystem where they profit whether you buy their car or their competitor's car. Chinese companies now control 54% of global battery production. CATL alone supplies batteries to Tesla, BMW, and Volkswagen. This means Chinese companies profit whether their own cars succeed or their competitors' cars fail. They've created a win-win scenario where traditional automakers pay them to compete. Here's the number that explains everything: $231 billion. That's how much the Chinese government has invested in electric vehicle development over 15 years. While Western governments debated policy, China was systematically building the infrastructure for automotive domination. But the money isn't the scariest part. The Chinese government didn't just throw money at the problem. They created a systematic plan. 30% minimum NEV requirements for government purchases. Dual credit systems forcing traditional automakers to buy credits from electric vehicle makers. Purchase subsidies that made electric cars cheaper than gas cars. This wasn't industrial policy. This was economic warfare. And the strategy is working faster than anyone predicted. Volkswagen is closing German factories for the first time in history. Ford just separated their electric and gas car divisions because they can't make EVs profitable. But the most devastating advantage is still coming. What happens when your car gets smarter every week instead of becoming obsolete? Traditional automakers update their cars every 2 to 3 years. Tesla updates every 2 to 4 weeks. Chinese companies like Xiaomi update continuously based on real-time user data from hundreds of millions of devices. This isn't just an advantage, it's a fundamental shift in what a car actually is. While BMW knows how you drive, Xiaomi knows how you live. Your phone usage, your smart home preferences, your daily routines, all feeding into AI that predicts what you want in a vehicle before you know it yourself. Traditional automakers are selling transportation. Chinese tech companies are selling lifestyle integration. Xiaomi's HyperOS unifies smartphones, smart home devices, and vehicles into a seamless experience. Start navigation on your phone, it automatically transfers to your car. Your car knows when you're coming home and preheats the house. Your driving patterns optimize your home's energy consumption. This level of integration is impossible for traditional automakers to replicate. Every new Xiaomi car owner makes the entire ecosystem more valuable for existing users. More driving data improves navigation for everyone. More energy usage patterns optimize the smart grid. More user interactions train the AI that powers everything. Traditional automakers sell individual products, Chinese tech companies build networks, and investors are starting to notice. Xiaomi's stock rallied 280% as their automotive business proved profitable faster than anyone expected. But success in China is just the beginning. The real test comes when they face European tariffs and American trade restrictions. Can Chinese automotive dominance survive a global trade war? Europe just imposed tariffs up to 38% on Chinese electric vehicles. America is considering even higher barriers. But Chinese companies are already building factories in Hungary, Mexico, and Thailand. They're not just exporting cars, they're exporting entire manufacturing ecosystems. Build Your Dreams aims to double overseas sales to 800,000 vehicles in 2025. They're not slowing down, they're accelerating. Because they've calculated that even with tariffs, their cost advantages make them profitable. And this reveals the fundamental problem facing traditional automakers. Chinese companies aren't just building factories overseas, they're acquiring local partners. Build Your Dreams partnered with European dealers in 18 countries. CATL supplies batteries to American startups and European giants. Xiaomi is preparing to launch the SU7 in Europe in March 2025. They're not avoiding trade barriers, they're systematically dismantling them. Traditional automakers are now paying Chinese companies to learn how to build electric vehicles. Ford licensed battery technology from CATL. BMW partnered with Chinese suppliers for their next-generation EVs. Volkswagen is building cars in China using Chinese-developed platforms. The students have become the teachers. Some companies are fighting back. Volkswagen committed $131 billion to electrification. Ford restructured into separate electric and gas divisions. But can incremental transformation compete against companies built from scratch for this exact moment? How much time do traditional automakers have left? Here's the problem. Traditional automakers need 5 to 7 years to develop new platforms. Chinese companies are iterating every 6 months. By the time BMW launches their next-generation EV, Xiaomi will have released 10 software updates and 3 new models. The math doesn't work. 70% of automotive professionals lack software development skills. Chinese tech companies are hiring AI engineers while traditional automakers are still optimizing internal combustion engines. Tesla pays software engineers $300,000 plus annually. Traditional automakers struggle to compete with these compensation packages. This isn't just a product problem, it's a human capital problem. Chinese companies are building relationships with top universities worldwide. Xiaomi funds AI research at Stanford and MIT. Build Your Dreams partners with European technical universities. They're not just hiring talent, they're developing the next generation of automotive engineers. And these engineers are learning Chinese approaches to automotive innovation. Traditional automakers operate with hierarchical approval processes that take months. Chinese tech companies use flat structures that enable decisions in days. Risk-averse automotive cultures emphasizing safety clash with fail fast, iterate quickly mentalities. The cultural transformation required might be harder than the technical transformation. Traditional automakers are now acquiring startups to gain capabilities they can't develop internally. General Motors bought Cruise for autonomous driving. Ford invested in Rivian for electric truck technology. But Chinese companies are building these capabilities organically, while traditional automakers pay premium prices for acquisition targets. The automotive transformation is accelerating into new battlegrounds. Autonomous driving, vehicle-to-grid integration, and mobility as a service are coming next. Chinese companies are already positioning for these battles, while traditional automakers are still fighting the electric vehicle war. Chinese companies have logged over 100 million autonomous driving test miles. Their AI systems learn from data collected across entire ecosystems of connected devices. Traditional automakers test in controlled environments with limited data sets. The gap in real-world AI training data is becoming insurmountable. The question isn't whether Chinese companies will dominate automotive. The question is, which other industries are next? Aerospace, renewable energy, consumer electronics. The same playbook is already being deployed, and traditional companies in those industries are making the same mistakes automakers made 5 years ago. Lei Jun didn't just build a car company. He built a blueprint for how tech companies can systematically destroy any industry they choose to enter. And automotive was just the beginning. The real question is whether Western companies will learn from this transformation or become the next victims of it. If this story shocked you, you need to subscribe right now. Because what's happening in automotive is just the beginning. Chinese companies are using this exact same playbook to systematically dominate renewable energy, semiconductors, and aerospace. And most Western executives have no idea what's coming next. I'm tracking every move in this global business war, and the next video will blow your mind. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the most important business story of our generation. What industry do you think Chinese tech companies will disrupt next? Let me know in the comments below.